everybody, it's Paige, and today's video is going to be my ColourPop palette ranking video. I have filmed several of these videos now where I rank all of my eyeshadow palettes from certain brands. I will have them linked down below in the description box, but today we are doing ColourPop. I've been talking about doing this video since like November of 2020, if not before, and it just kept getting pushed back. But we're finally filming it today. I actually also just filmed a full face of Morphe products and let you guys know like best and worst, like what products are worth it and which ones aren't from Morphe. So if you guys haven't seen that video yet, I will link it down below. That is the makeup look that I have on right now. But I have all of my palettes sitting in front of me. I think I counted and I think I have 39 ColourPop palettes, so it's time to get going. If you guys are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy, and let's go ahead and get started. It's always so scary starting off these videos with my least favorite palette from the brand, but I just wanted to say that there aren't any palettes from ColourPop that I dislike. I truly love all of my ColourPop palettes, which is why I still have them all. I did rank them from my least favorite to favorite. I went pretty much just based off of color scheme and like theming of the palette. I truly believe that the formula is there, like it's good in all of these palettes, but I had to figure out some sort of system when ranking these. In last place of my ColourPop palette ranking, meaning this is my least favorite palette, we have the Zodiac palette. So this is a collaboration with Kathleen Lights, and this is no shade towards Kathleen Lights, no shade towards ColourPop or the palette, but I had to pick a least favorite one. So I decided to go with the Zodiac palette. I just find that the color story itself isn't my favorite. There are individual shades within this palette that I absolutely love, like this green color right here. This is insane. Like, would you look at that? It is absolutely beautiful, but overall it's just, I don't feel inspired when I see this palette really, which is why I chose to put it last. So this is 39th place. Here is a close-up of the palette. As you can see, this green color is gorgeous. This orange is so pretty. The blue, the purples, it's just a weird palette for me. So 39th place, we have the Zodiac palette. In 38th place, we have the Main Squeeze palette. This one, I don't really know about this one, you guys. Every time I do my makeup with this palette, it ends up looking the exact same, and I'm not really a fan of how it turns out. I feel like the concept of this palette is so freaking cute. It's basically watermelon themed, but these shimmers here don't do much for me. I feel like there's just not enough variation in the palette. They're all sort of the same depth. Like the 6 mattes are like the same depth, and the 3 shimmers are about the same depth. There's no really light shimmery shades or dark, medium, light toned mattes. So I feel like this is just a little bit difficult to create its own like a look alone with this palette. So that's why I decided to place it a little bit lower in the ranking. In 37th place, we have the Just My Luck palette, and the main reason for this one being here is because I am not the biggest fan of green eyeshadow. Just overall, green is not a color that I particularly love on myself when it comes to makeup or clothing. I just feel like for some reason it just doesn't complement like my skin tone or hair color. I don't know what it is, but I'm just not a big fan of green, and I actually don't think that I've ever even used this palette, which is another factor when ranking. You know, I haven't used every single one of my ColourPop palettes. I have used most of them, but there are a few that I haven't gotten the chance to use yet, so I did decide to put this one at 37th place. In 36th place, we have a newer palette actually. This is the Boudoir Noir palette. Again, this is one that I haven't used yet. I did more recently pick this one up though, and I just feel like this wasn't what I expected it to be. I feel like it's sort of like blah, and I'm not trying to be mean, like this is a gorgeous palette, but it's just sort of very muted and like green and like mustardy. I don't know. Some people are probably like, those are my favorite colors, but me particularly, those are just not shades that I am usually drawn towards. I thought it was going to be more of like a gold palette, but I feel like it's more like green and muted than I was thinking. So 35th place goes to Boudoir Noir. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but you get it. This is 36th place. I don't remember if I said 35 or 36, but this is the 36th place. In 35th place, we have the Aura and Out palette. This is another green palette. However, this one, I love the way that this palette looks. It reminds me of springtime and Easter, and the colors are just so fun and pretty. They're like pastel, but also bright at the same time. I love that there's sort of like a blue, a green, and like a yellowy kind of row. And the reason that I decided to put this a little bit lower was because I feel like it is sort of hard to get a look out of this palette just because of the lack of depth. I know it's like pastel kind of vibes, which is why there's no darker shades in here, but if I were to change it, I would maybe add like a darker green or a darker blue. Still the same tones, just like a little bit deeper. So 35th place goes to Aura and Out. 34th place goes to the Dream Street palette. This is another collaboration with Kathleen Lights. This one I spilled something on it. I think it was like setting spray. I brought it traveling with me like probably a year and a half ago, and I don't know. The eyeshadows are still fine. It's just the packaging, but here's what it looks like. Again, this is just something that doesn't really like speak to me. I did get quite a bit of use out of this palette. But I'm never like, ooh, like I want to use the Dream Street palette. Like, it's sort of a forgettable palette in my opinion. And again, no shade to any of these palettes by my descriptions. I'm just giving you guys my honest opinions. So yeah, Dream Street goes in the 34th place slot. In 33rd place, we have the Smoke Show palette. I believe they renamed this palette and it is called... I forgot what it's called now. I'm not sure why they changed the name. I don't know if it was like a legal thing or they just decided to go with a different name. But this is a monochromatic palette, but it's like grays and blacks and whites and silvers, that kind of thing. Really pretty palette. This silver is insane. It's called Starstruck, like one of my probably favorite shadows from ColourPop. I just decided to put it a little bit lower because I don't really reach for these sorts of shades very often, but if I do, I'm definitely going to this palette. Like, this is the perfect smoky eye, like intense gray black smoky eye palette. Like, this is literally perfect for you. It's just not like, you know, my favorite types of colors, so even though it's a great palette, I did decide to put it in 33rd place. In 32nd place, we have Blue Moon. So this is a blue palette. Here is what it looks like on the back. This is another palette that I haven't gotten a chance to use, and I put Blue Moon and On Cloud Blue right next to each other because these are very similar palettes. On Cloud Blue is a bit lighter. I think these are very complementary. You have like every single blue you could ever possibly want between these two palettes. I will say that sometimes these 9-pan palettes, the pans like shift and they get stuck behind the packaging, which is kind of weird. So I don't love that, but these are really pretty palettes. I just haven't used them. So lack of use is sort of the main factor when ranking these. So we have Blue Moon at 33rd and, or 32nd. Blue Moon at 32nd place. Oh no, oh no. I just broke my palettes. Oh frick, I do not know which shadow was where. Well, 4 of the shadows literally fell out, but they're like magnetized, so I don't know exactly where they go. I'm just gonna put them in random places, and it is what it is. So my On Cloud Blue palette might look a little bit different than yours now. So that one's in 31st place, by the way. In 30th place, we have the Lil Ray of Sunshine palette. I think this is such a cute palette, and it is an all matte palette, and it's like all these gorgeous yellow, like sunflowery type shades. Like, I feel like you could find every single one of these shades in a sunflower, and I think an all matte palette is really cool. I typically don't go for all matte eye looks, so I definitely would be supplementing this palette with some shimmers, but it is really cool, and I know a lot of people do enjoy all matte palettes, but I decided to put this at 30th place just because I love all my other ones a little bit more. All right, we're in the 20s. In 29th place, we have the Mint to Be palette. This is another green palette, but it is more pastel. This sort of reminds me of the pastel green Huda Beauty palette. I think it's really pretty. Gorgeous colors here. This shade Minty, like T-E-A, like mint and tea combined, is so pretty. Like, I think that is absolutely gorgeous. But again, I'm just not a huge fan of green eyeshadow, so I did decide to put this at 29th place. In 28th place, we have the Honey palette. I think this is actually a really nice palette, and yellow eyeshadow is something that I feel like is a little bit weird sometimes. Oh, you could see me for a second. There I am. Yellow eyeshadow is not normal, I feel like, but I think it should be, and I think this is a really cool yellow palette. It's super bright. You have a good range of lighter tones and like deeper sort of like brown honey-ish tones. You have a pressed glitter, matte, shimmers. I just think this is a really nice palette overall, but yellow isn't my go-to color, so I did decide to put this at 28th place. 27th place, we've got the That's Taupe palette. This is such a cute palette, and I actually thought that I was gonna get more use out of this than I do. And by the way, this ranking like could change tomorrow. It all just depends on like what I'm feeling at the moment. Recently, I've been really into like more pink, neutral kind of eyeshadows, so that's sort of more of what's closer to like first place. Taupey colors, like cool tone shades, are not usually my favorites, but I do like playing with them, and I think this is a gorgeous palette. This shade is called Slated, and this is sort of like a Super Shock shadow formula is what it feels like, and it is just so pretty. It's right here. I feel like it's gonna be kind of hard to see that, but it's like a champagne taupe. It's shimmery and it's just beautiful. So this had to go somewhere, so I ended up putting this at 26th place. 27th place, I'm sorry. It's so hard for me to keep track of the numbers. In 26th place, we have the Nude Mood palette. This is a super cute palette. It is just that, a nude neutral palette. It's really, really pretty. Wink Wink is another one of those like Super Shock type shades, and it's gorgeous. We've got Put On Airs, I think is how you say it. And these colors are just like ones that I have been loving recently. It's so pretty. Such a good neutral palette, but there are some other neutral palettes from ColourPop that I do prefer a little bit more, so this one is in 26th place. Number 25 is a palette that I do not know how to pronounce, so this is the Menage a Moi or something. This one came out with the Boudoir palette, and this one is definitely more up my alley. We've got like mauve-y, purpley, kind of like rosy tones, and I love these types of shades. There are some really pretty pressed glitters in here along with shimmers and mattes, and I think that this is just a really nice like purpley kind of palette, and it's absolutely stunning. It's one of their 12 pan palettes. So yeah, this one is in 25th place. In 24th place, we have the Wild Nothing palette. The packaging on this is so cute, and this is another really pretty palette. It is more on the lighter side. I think this is going to be a great palette for spring. There's so many fun shimmers in here, and I feel like some really classic matte shades as well. So this one is in 24th place. In 23rd place, we have the Strawberry Shake palette. This is another 9-can palette. This one is like not what I expected. I feel like the packaging is super pastel and light pink, and then the inside is like pretty bright. But the colors in here are so pretty. Take a Sip is this middle hot pink color. That is stunning, especially like with this orange color called Berry Fine. I think those two shades together would create such a pretty look. But yeah, I did decide to put this at 23rd place. 22nd place goes to the Blush Crush palette. This is a gorgeous neutral light pink palette. I love this so much. Oh, it's so pretty. It sort of reminds me of the color scheme of the Nudie No. 2 palette, but I like the Nudie No. 2 palette more. But it's just really pretty, and I think it just, oh, it's beautiful. It's pink, it's neutral. You've got lights, you've got darks, you've got mattes and shimmers, and I love it. So 22nd place goes to the Blush Crush palette. 21st place goes to the It's My Pleasure palette. This is a really pretty purple palette. You've got a nice mixture of cool tone purples and warm tone purples. You've got mattes and shimmery shades, and I think that this is just such a pretty purple palette. Chicklet is like such a deep purple that's so pretty. Bare Minimum has a little bit more like red to it, and that's another gorgeous shade. Both of these shadows are so pigmented and pretty, and I think purple is a really fun color to play with, and that's probably my preferred color besides like pink and neutrals and like warm kind of neutrals. I feel like purple is like another one of my personal favorites. So 21st, I believe, goes to the It's My Pleasure palette. 20th place goes to the Miss Bliss palette. This has like a peach packaging on the outside, and on the inside it is pink and peach, which are like my favorite two colors in the entire world. This is like, if I could have all of my home decor these colors, I would. I love them so much. Here is a close-up, so freaking pretty. Oh, I just love them. They're beautiful. I have no complaints about this palette. Oh, I love it. Maybe I wish there were a few deeper shades, but it's perfect. I love that. In 19th place, we have the Stone Cold Fox palette. This is one of their larger palettes, and this is a newer one to my collection. This is a very cool toned, like taupey type palette. There are some beiges, some like mauve tones as well, but overall, I love these larger palettes from ColourPop. I am someone who loves variety, so I like larger palettes personally. I just prefer them over like itty bitty quads. I don't know why, but in general I like a large palette, and this one's really pretty. Cool tones aren't my go-to, but again, if I'm gonna go for something taupey, I'm totally gonna go for this or the That's Taupe palette, but most likely the Stone Cold Fox. I just think this is so pretty. Moving on to my second pile of palettes. In 18th place, we have the Truly Madly Deeply palette. So I bought this, I think I was in Atlanta maybe, and it was at Ulta. I thought this was an Ulta exclusive, but I'm not sure anymore. But this is such a pretty palette. Like, look at this palette. There aren't very many palettes that are this shape from ColourPop, like with this many shadows. This is a 16-pan eyeshadow palette, and I think the colors in here are so fun. You have 3 pressed glitters, you've got some mattes, some shimmers, and overall I think it's just a gorgeous color scheme, but I definitely don't use it as much as I should. But like these two shades here are everything. I love those. I definitely need to do a look with that palette soon. In 17th place, we have the It's a Love Trance palette. I'm pretty sure when I hauled this, I read this as triangle. Which is so funny, and when I first saw this I thought triangle initially, but I was like, wait, no, that does not spell triangle. It says Trance, and here's what it looks like. This palette gives me cotton candy vibes, which I love. I love the pink and purple and blue pastels. I just think it's so pretty. I love this palette so much. much. I need to use it more. I need to use my pastel palettes from ColourPop more. I feel like I definitely neglect them a little bit. In 16th place, we have the ColourPop and Raw Beauty Kristi collaboration. This is the At Forest Sight palette, and this is beautiful. I love this palette. It's definitely different for me, but the colors go so well together. I love the greens and blues and purples and yellows and oranges. I just think it's literally perfect, like, for these types of colors. I love it. The pigment is there. They're just amazing. And the packaging is so cute. The theme for this palette is, I wouldn't change a single thing about it. I think it's amazing. So yeah, super awesome palette. I highly recommend it. I don't know if it's still available or not, but if it is, definitely snag it if you can. In 15th place, we have the Orange You Glad palette. This palette is stunning. Orange is like one of my favorite colors. Pink and orange were my two favorite colors growing up, and something about orange makes me happy. Like, when I see this, I feel happiness, and it's just so bright and fun and colorful, and like the shades in here are everything, and I wouldn't change a single thing about it. This pressed glitter is called Clementine, and it's so pretty. Oh my gosh. You've got orange, you've got yellow and green. Oh my goodness, it's literally everything. I don't know if you can see that from there, but I love this palette. It's amazing. In 14th place, we have the Bye Bye Birdie palette. This is one that I bought a long time ago and then I never used. And then I used it a few times more recently, and it is such a good palette. I love the colors in this palette. You've got these really pretty, like, warm purpley colors that remind me of the packaging. Like, these right here are so pretty. I just think this is a beautiful palette. Definitely underrated. I feel like I never hear anybody talking about this palette, but it is so good. So yeah, 14th place goes to the Bye Bye Birdie. In 13th place, I decided to put the Garden Variety palette. I feel like part of why this one was so high up is because of the packaging. I think this packaging is everything. Like, it is so beautiful. I love all the succulents. I'm sorry the cars are so loud. But the color scheme of the palette is beautiful as well. I feel like it coincides with the packaging so well. This green color is beautiful. This purple color is beautiful. I just love how many shimmers there are. I'm definitely someone that prefers like an equally balanced shimmer to matte ratio. If I'm gonna have more of one, I would pick more shimmers just because I love sparkly things. But I think this is such a gorgeous palette. So yeah, it deserves 13th place for sure. For 12 through 9, I actually decided to put my ColourPop and Animal Crossing palettes. I decided it would be best to keep these like all together just to like make my life a little easier. I loved this collection. I love Animal Crossing. I play it all the time. I live stream it on Twitch. So if you don't follow me on Twitch, definitely do so. The link will be in the description box. But I have my little mini quads here, so I would say in 12th place we have the Nook Ink palette, which is the green one. All of these quads are amazing, by the way. But this one's probably my least favorite out of the four, just because it's green. It's really cute though, and I like how you have a good variety of depth and finishes. Like, I think they did such a good job with these quads. But the Nook Ink palette gets 12th place. 11th place, we're gonna go with the What a Hoot palette. This one is the neutral of the four. I think it's so cute. And again, perfect variety of depths and finishes. I just think it's so good. These were expensive though. These were $12 a piece, which that's a lot for a quad, especially coming from ColourPop. In 10th place, I put the La Belle of the Ball palette. This is the purple one, and this one, oh, I love it so much, but I had to put the 5 Star Island palette in 9th place. This is my favorite of the four. This one is like pink and has a pop of yellow, but honestly, these two combined are everything. Like, this is what I used to make my eye look in my review video. I also used a pop of a green from the Nook Island palette, but yeah, this one definitely gets 10th place, and the 5-Star Island palette gets 9th place. My camera battery died, but I am back. In 8th place, wow, we're already in top 10. In 8th place, we have the So Jaded palette. This is another Kathleen Lights collaboration. This is definitely my favorite out of her collaborations with them, and this is just such a pretty palette. It's so versatile, and I love the colors, I love the finishes. It's just amazing. Every time I do my eyeshadow with this palette, I love the way that it turns out. You can do some really awesome looks and mix really cool colors together, and you wouldn't think they'd look good, but somehow they do. Definitely love this one. I highly recommend this to literally anybody. It's amazing, and it's one of their bigger palettes, which is another reason why I love it so much. In 7th place, we have the Lilac You A Lot palette. This is a really pretty lavendery lilac palette. It has really pretty purples, and I love the variation in here, and you do have some deeper shades, which makes me happy. I feel like you can really create a complete eye look, and yeah, I think it's awesome. The metallics are so pretty. Like, ugh, something about a purple shimmery shade just makes me so happy. I have like glitter all over my forehead now. I actually have glitter all over myself just from swatching all of these shades. But in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th place, we have the Cloud Spun palette. This is one that I only have used once, but it is so pretty. I love it. It's an all pink palette, which obviously pink is my favorite color, and I love how you have some more pastel shades, but you also have this hot pink and this like kind of corally pink. I love the shimmers, and this pressed glitter in the middle is so pretty. So this is definitely top for me. Cloud Spun, so freaking cute. In 5th place, we have the Baby Got Peach palette. I think this is such a cute palette, and I love peach, like I mentioned. I've had looks with this palette that I like and some that I don't, but overall I think this is a gorgeous palette. In 4th place, we have the Olayala palette, which this was actually one of the first ColourPop palettes that I ever ordered. I think, at least. I feel like it was one of the first ones. It's really pretty. You've got some awesome pinks in here, but you also have like a purple and sort of like a gold. So this is a little bit less monochromatic than some of their others, but I think it's just so pretty. So that's why she's top 5. And then we have my top 3, and this is where things got super hard for me to choose. So I think my 3rd place palette is the Going Coconuts palette. This is an amazing palette, you guys. This one though, I think some of the shades shifted, so I don't know if they're all in the right spot or not. But this is such an amazing palette. I highly recommend this one. I love every single shade in this palette. It is so pretty. Oh, it's like the perfect everyday go-to palette. It's compact, it's easy to like pack in a bag or whatever, and I just think it's an amazing palette. In 2nd place, we have by far my most used ColourPop palette. This is the California Love palette. I don't know if this is still available, but if it is, this is such a good palette, you guys. I love it. I have used this palette so much. This shade right here is my favorite shade in the entire palette. It is called Diego, and this is like the prettiest gold I've ever seen in my entire life. It's like a bronzy kind of gold, but it is just so metallic, and you have every matte like brown, like warm toned brown in here, and it's a warm toned palette without being like red. Like it's more like orange to neutral, and I just think every shade in this palette is stunning. Anytime I used to go somewhere, I would bring this palette with me just because I knew it was an easy palette to go to, and I knew my eyeshadow would look great. So 2nd place goes to California Love, and if you couldn't guess it, 1st place goes to the Bare Necessities palette. Oh, I love this palette. I got it a few months ago, and it quickly became my favorite ColourPop palette. Again, this is one of their large palettes, and it's much more neutral than the Stone Cold Fox palette, I think is what the name was. I actually wish they had a palette like this, but with even like warmer tones, like these ones, but like a big palette. That one would be my favorite, but I had to pick this one over the California Love just because of the variety that you have here. So this is an amazing palette. If you don't have it and you're looking for a good neutral palette, this is definitely amazing. You have so much variety in here. Like I mentioned, you have some purplies, some purpley tone shades, some oranges, you've got neutrals, even some cool tone ones in this top row right here. Overall, it's just such a pretty palette, and the formula is amazing, and I love it. So yeah, that was my ranking all of my ColourPop palettes video. Whew, I feel like that was a tough one. It was hard for me to find negative things to say about these palettes because I just love all of them, but I didn't just want to sit here and be like 39, 38, 37, 36. So if I had something to say, I tried to add it, but that was today's video, and I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. I will link the ColourPop website below, but I don't think I'm going to be able to link every single palette that I mentioned. I will try to list them though. I'll try. No promises, but there will be a link to the ColourPop website, and if you just search in the search bar the name of the palette that I mentioned, you will find it. Assuming that there are still available. Some of these I know are sold out currently, like the Animal Crossing ones, and some might not even be available anymore. I honestly have no idea. But anyway, this was a lot of fun, and I'm glad that I finally filmed this video. So that is pretty much it from me. I love you guys so much. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!